it made me think of this one sermon that my pastor gave. I go to St. Francis de Sales. This was a sermon by Father Austin. He's very heavy on liturgy in his stuff, but he had this one sermon on the Eucharist that was so powerful. It stuck with me since he gave it. And he was talking about how God loved us so much that he gave his entire self to us, but we tend to keep coming to God for things that he gives us and not for himself. He's saying, I want you. I'm giving you myself entirely. This is me. I'm giving myself to you. I love you so much. And we're being like, yeah, we like you, but also can you like give us all these different securities and comforts and all of these other things? And he said, why am not I just enough for you? Why cannot I be enough for you? Why don't you want just me? And I was like, whoa, it struck me in the middle of Mass. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, it just gave me a very different perspective of like, you know, when you're friends with someone and you have that like level of closeness with them, you want to have that point where it's like you don't get anything out of it necessarily. You're just really enjoying each other's presence and loving that person for them, and applying that to God and being like, why don't I just love God for who he is instead of what he can give me? It just kind of blew me away for a minute. Yeah.
Well, if we're going to define love, right, as loving another for their own sake, right?
Yeah.
I think that gets in there. But what I don't think you're saying, but what I think can easily be misconstrued as is, I need to forsake all other goods entirely.
No,
right?
yeah.
And I don't think that's what you're saying. And actually, I think it's a good segue for this to get into Patrick and some of the other things that I want to talk about in this episode, which is, we can love God through all these other goods that are good, but they are good in that they're a reflection in some way of the ultimate goodness, which is God.
Exactly. I think that gets to the heart of what this episode is about.
And I think like sometimes when you're asking God for things, it's not always like that is like saying that you're placing, like you're trusting him to know that like he has the power to do that. And it's kind of like in a way, like you're almost glorifying him because you're like, I trust you with this.
Right.
The only reason I would ask you is because I know that you can do something and I trust you, you know, and I think it has to come at the end of the day. Like you should kind of end your prayer with like, you know, your will be done, you know, because like still surrendering that to him. But I do think that like, there's a good thing about like asking like a little child, you know, like that, like for what you want from God, you know, like there's different elements to that relationship. But I think that's a very important one because like, you know, you are relying on God and you like, 100%. He wants you to ask for things, you know, he wants you to keep begging him because that's just like revealing how much trust you have in him. So,
exactly.
Yeah. And it's that trust goes back to like, I trust you when the answer to my prayer is no, which it is a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's really hard to ask and also be like, your will be done because sometimes you don't always get what you ask for, you know? Yeah. So at the end of the day, just making sure that like that relationship is the forefront, but also like asking for things is important too.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, if you're enjoying the content, be sure to like, subscribe, and go back and watch the full-length video. We talk a lot more about this. We get into some other stuff. I think you'll love it. Thanks.